All right, good evening, guys. I hope you guys are doing good. I hope you have a cool day. This is Asia's series, right? A series where I show my breakdown of the trades I take, specifically in Asia session. It's one of the major sessions I trade for gold, especially, and it's so that you are able to see the way I execute and also pick one or two things you can add to, the things you already have. This is no financial advice. I'm not giving trade ideas here, but I hope that I'm able to communicate the mindset of execution that allows you to do this, in such a way that brings profits in. All right, but to get into the story, last Asia or the Asia session of yesterday was a special one because one of my students in the inner circle just got funded, and that was exciting to see. I'm always pumped when I see things like that, right? And the moment I saw the screenshots, right, FTMO, got funded. At the moment I saw the screenshots, a crazy idea popped into my head, and it's like, how long would it take me to get funded? And I decided I was going to get on the challenge where I get funded in one sitting. So I sit down on my desk where I am here, and I buy the challenge and I get funded. Right. So I went on that quest, right? And it was going to be Asia session. It was very close to that time already. So I purchased a $20,000 account, right? And I had to pass that account. It's a one-step challenge. So I had to pass that account and get funded. That was the goal. All right. So that's exactly how Asia session started, right? And just going straight into the trades because that's what we're here for. It's this, right? So the first trade, right, that I took was this, right? And that trade was, you'd see Asia session starts at 1 a.m. Nigerian time, right? Which is 20 o'clock EST, right? So this is it, right? If we look at the prior day, what did we have? Remember our three-step process? We are looking for run on buy side liquidity. Where is my I can't see that. But guys, this is Asia session of Tuesday. This is Monday, right? This is Tuesday. This is Asia session Tuesday going into Wednesday. That's today, right? So if you look at this, this is where price ends for the day. And what we see is we see a rally. So Tuesday was consolidation, manipulation, distribution. And going into Asia session, we see a run above the previous session's high. Now, this session is what is called New York launch. If you trade indices, you know this session, the launch time, right? This is New York session, 9:30 to around 11 o'clock here. And then this is New York launch, right? So it's a session also. Price takes out. Some people call it London close if you trade ICT, right? So we take out that New York's launch high, and then look at what happens. So run on buy side liquidity already happens, and then price breaks below an old low. That's easy breaking market structure. All right. So to be transparent with this, one of the things that I did here, although not on the account, was I bought this order block looking at this as a continuation for buy side. It was a small position and then I took a loss. Now, the moment I took a loss on this trade, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to see sell side. Why? Because we already had breaking mark, run on buy side, breaking market structure. Remember, this is that box that we talked about earlier in one of the videos where price takes out this high, you have collected the money from your CEO, and then you need to collect the money from the senior manager. So it's just liquidity point. Buy side liquidity has been taken. We have seen willingness, which is the second point, and then we want to see price return back into premium. And this can now, in this case, price did not return back into premium, but what I was trading here was breaker. And this is something that maybe we'll take a video to explain. If you guys would want to see that, let me know. Right. But this is a bullish order block that got disrespected. It's valid because it carries this expansion here. Now, a break on that makes this candle an inversion level, right? So bullish order blocks will become bearish breakers, right? So it was exactly what I was doing here. Price took out that low and I got into sales. And I'll show you exactly how I did it because this is important also. And I got into those shorts or those sales. It was a crazy session and you'd see in a minute. Right. So right off the bat, this trade was a 1 to 6. So This trade should pay me, the way I planned the trade, I got in with point 0.6. It was going to fulfill the accounts. That was my idea. I came into the session, right, wanting to pass a prop firm account, or an evaluation stage account. So I planned the trade, but I think I made some mistakes with my maths. Maybe I'm getting old. So this trade actually panned out, but when we got here, I was still left with 1%. I still had 1% to go. So this was what I did, right? I had point two lots, three of them. And then at this point, I took out two of them. So I passed out on the trade and I left this running. And it was because I felt like, oh, price was still going to continue lower. Now, remember that I still need 200 even with all of the positions. So when I passed out, I knew that I still needed to take another trade. But at this point, I was convinced that we were going to keep going lower. Yeah, I was confused that we're going to come down to this low. So you know what I did? I sold again inside of here. So it's still one trade. That's why I'm explaining like that. I sold inside of here, and you know what happened? I sold another point two inside of here, and price took out. That point two was a loss, was a very big loss. In fact, it was a $400 loss. The amount that I partialed here, and then I also lost this position that was here. So I got back to break even. I got back to break even when all of this happened because I wanted to really see price go lower. Let's go into the 5 minutes so that it's clear. I wanted to really see price go lower from here, from inside of this fair value gap, just to continue. Since we've already seen breaking market structure, we've taken out this low, but that was all. And there's a lesson in that, right? But this is also the game of trading. You would have to be creative in the way you actually engage and approach price. You can't just come into price and just want to expect black and white what will happen. It's an adventure, and you need to make space for creative autonomy. How you identify, oh, okay, this is where I am now. This is what I need to do, or do I need to do nothing? Right. So I watched this and I allowed it just play out. And what I was asking myself as I was waiting through this, it was hours of wait. I didn't do anything but just watch how price was playing inside of the session. And I kept asking myself, we already had this run lower. I looked at the higher time frame. Right. I don't want this video to be so long, but it's important. I looked at this time frame. Right. We already returned back. This is Monday's high. This is Tuesday's low. We've returned back into premium. We broke market structure with the move I just sold. So are we just going to start to go higher? It's possible because we already took our sell side liquidity. Why not? Like, we could just take out this and start to go higher. So I wanted to see price break this high and just agree that, okay, tomorrow I'll just come and start looking for buys, since we've taken out sell side liquidity and we are also taking out buy side liquidity. That's bullish market structure, right? But as the session continued, I saw price return back into that order block there. The last up close candle before the run lower, and boom, bearish candle. I followed again by a bearish candle, and then I I was in tune with sales, but I wasn't so confident, I'll tell you, because I already, had a good run, and then I'm back at break even, or maybe just I think 1% of break even. The details are scabby now, but I wasn't, where I was, or I wasn't how I was feeling when price was here. So what did I do? Right, as I saw this, right, I liked this fair value gap, right? And what I liked in this fair value gap is called balanced price range, where we have a bullish fair value gap meeting a bearish fair value gap. That point where the bullish fair value gap meets the bearish fair value gap is called balanced price range. And balanced price range happens when we have a run into a bullish and a bearish fair value gap, right? So I was looking at the midpoint of that fair value gap, but I streamlined it with that tiny fair value gap in here. Now you might be like, oh, like what is really, inside, what is really inside of here, right? And you would have to pay attention to price to seek out balanced price range. I would show you one. I would show you one so that we don't waste time on this video. And again, these are things that I can teach separately, but I would need you to ask Paul. Let me show you why it made more sense to me. I dropped down to the 1 minute, and that level was a breaker. This is very understandable, right? Bullish order block, right? Got disrespected by a breaking market structure. So that's a breaker. So price turning back into that level, I wasn't going to take chances. Like my stops were just above that fair value gap. And I got in with 0.25 because it was a 1 to 9.5 trade. So when I got into this trade, right, it was very quick. Price started to move lower, and somewhere around here, it was already 6 a.m. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to, or 5 a.m. I'm like, I'm going to just go to bed. Right. So I went to bed and woke up this morning, boom, TP hit. I was excited, guys. I was excited. I was dreaming that I was, in profits, but in the dream I was in buys, so I was very confused. So the moment I jumped up at 9:30, I just came to the price, and I'm like, okay, what's happening here? What's happening here? What's happening here? And yeah, this already happened. So all of this was just a retracement, which is crazy, right? But that's exactly what price is. So again, I was back to $600 here. But at this point, I was convinced that, sell side was in play. And that's something also to always note. If you know that price is in the directional bias you want to see, find an entry and take the play. Sorry, guys. Find an entry and take the play. And oh shit. Sorry, guys. And this was what I was looking at, right? Going into London, we already saw breaking market structure. Let me see if I can show this clearly. I know my charts are messy, but guys, follow. Breaking market structure, return back into order block, and then returns back again. All right, so we are seeing lower lows get taken out, and what I wanted to see was an OB that would just send price lower. So I found this incredible fair value gap here, aligned with an OB. All right, so up close candle, run to take out old lows. That's a bearish order block. So that was where I got my second sell. Right, I got that sell right inside of that OB, and my stop loss was covering. Sorry, right inside of that fair value gap. There's an OB there, right? And my stop loss was covering that fair value gap. I didn't want to see that fair value gap they get taken out, right? And I had like $200 to go, and then I took that trade. Now that particular account is up right now. I think I'm up 1% or so on the account, and it was based on this trade. I took a loss first, and then I was able to get in right after I took the loss because I figured that it was just a stop run, right? And that was a good trade because that ran all the way down here, and that's good. But that's not what we are talking about, right? The Asian trades were here. These were the trades. I took this trade, and then I took this trade, right? So they were both sells, and it was interesting. It's the first one of the week, and we're starting the week very good, right? I hope you are, doing great with your accounts. I hope you are, learning a lot from these videos. Please put a thumbs up if you go to the end of this video. I just want to know how many people are actually, watching this to know if it's something I should continue, if value is being shared here. I appreciate all of you that, I've watched up to this point. You guys are real OGs. Bless, guys. I would see you probably tonight. I'll be trading Asia tonight, so I'll see you tonight. Bless up.